Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall, here we are at the end of our Platonic series. A couple of Platonic friends having a Platonic conversation.
I wish I knew what Platonic meant. I think we're here to talk about the 8th universal leadership quality.
Indeed we are. Can I read you a short quote from my translation of Plato's Republic?
Will there be cookies and milk?
They're doubtful, very doubtful.
All right, I'll listen
virtually
anyway.
Just some internet cookies.
Thanks.
Or as the British call them, internet biscuits. Little joke there. Sorry. Anyway, let me just remind people that, the whole point here is we're going through in Plato's Republic. He has Socrates talking about how you're going to educate these philosophers that are going to be the kings that are going to rule this fictitious republic where it's all fictitious. It's just a laboratory to investigate what really is morality and what's goodness and is a just person happier. And so he gives us this list towards the end of the book, I guess you could say, and 8 things that these philosopher kings are going to have to be. And I just want to remind you, the last one talked about how they need to enjoy all kinds of work. And I don't think I said this quote, but he mentioned that you have to not be hamstrung in your enjoyment of work, half out, half in on enjoying that work. Whether it's physical or mental, you got to be all in on that work. And so this last one really just is sort of the capstone on all of these different things we've talked about. And he kind of takes that hamstrung motion a little further. He says, we'll call a mind handicapped in the context of truth if, while loathing conscious lying, in that it not only finds it hard to stomach from itself, but also gets highly irritated when others do it, it happily puts up with unconscious lying and doesn't get irritated when its ignorance is exposed, but wallows in ignorance as cheerfully as any pig. And then he goes on to say, the same goes for self-control, courage, broadness of vision, all the other aspects of virtue. It's important to distinguish men of true pedigree from bastards in all these contexts. So basically these crippled bastards, these hamstrung people that are half in, half out on enjoyment of work. It also goes along with literally everything else we've talked about. Courage was one of the first, leadership qualities we talked about. And here he is saying that you can't be a bastard about courage. You've got to be all in on lying. You've got to be not just, loathing lying that you're conscious about, but even the unconscious lying where you're lying to yourself, you're, throwing up some defensive thing, or you're tolerating some vanity in yourself or in others that just is going to make this whole thing fall apart like a house of cards. So that's the last one is basically to be of true pedigree. Don't be a bastard about any of these things that we're studying. I'm just going to say bastard as much as I possibly can for emphasis.
Well, now we've got to put a PG-13 rating on our video. So when you say that, what I hear is inauthentic.
Yeah.
Your actions and deeds are not aligned.
Right.
The actions and words are not aligned. And the lack of alignment creates questions in the minds of those you are trying to lead, and therefore they don't fully engage with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I have talked about on this podcast, I think a couple times, the classic leadership text, leadership and self-deception, getting out of the box. And it's such a cool book because it doesn't have an author, right? It's I can't remember the name of the institute that came up with it, but they just refused to put an author to the book. So there's no ego involved here. It's just, this company came out with this book. And one of the things that they say is that, human beings can always detect hypocrisy. And so if we stick with just that being handicapped in the truth, it's so quick for people to see through the actions to our true intentions, even if it's a little bit unconscious to us that those are our intentions, to be defensive and to put up a good front when we really don't know what we're talking about, or something like that. There's a Bible verse from Jeremiah. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? And I love that quote because it sort of leaves it open. Like, can you even understand your own heart? I would argue no. There are things about myself that I am just really wrong about. and the more I can be honest about that, the more quickly I'm able to, have success, be a good leader, be authentic enough with people that they follow, all the things that we kind of talk about in this podcast.
Oh yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking, yeah, I can't hear what you're saying because your deeds are too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, your actions are so loud I can't hear what you're saying.
Right.
And so that drowns it out. So and we see this all the time, and you see it organizationally, right? The organization espouses a vision statement or a mission statement, and they're going to be family friendly and customer oriented, and then they demonstrate it, right? So no greater example in this modern day and age than you've been on hold for an hour with some company, and the recording says your call's important to us. No, it's not. If it was important, somebody would be talking to me. I wouldn't be on listening to your terrible hold music.
Right.
So yeah, that inauthentic, lack of alignment with what you say and do, it just comes through, and people are, I always tell my leaders, everyone is always watching you. You're
Yes.
on stage all the time as a leader. There's
Yes.
never a moment where they're not paying attention.
Right.
And what they're looking for is that alignment or that lack of alignment.
Right. And they're such little decisions. I mean, that's what's so that's what's so surprising about leadership is, it's not this big heroic moment where you decide to do something courageous and big picture and visionary. It's like, did they see you pick up the trash on the lot this morning before you walked in? I've been in meetings where I feel like I've done some of my best work when I have looked at a management team and I can just tell that what I'm trying to facilitate is not working. And obviously I've screwed up in some way, or there's something I'm missing, and I could, there's a couple choices. A younger me probably would have just saved face and just tried to, push through to the end of the meeting and say, all right, thank everybody for your time, and let's have a good day. The better me says, time out. I don't think anything I'm saying right now is really connecting with you guys. I feel like I'm probably missing something, and just being transparent with you. I don't know what's going on that's not working right now. And when I do that, I've just been vulnerable. Now they have permission to be vulnerable, and somebody will eventually raise their hand and say, yeah, Mark, actually, here's what's really important for us, or here's what happened yesterday that you don't know about, or whatever it is. I didn't know, but it's that moment of, that was a small choice, right? Like, I'm about to look silly in this meeting possibly, but I can tell that what I'm doing, I can either fake it to the end, or I could get real with them right now and say, I don't know what's going on, but I can tell that my stuff isn't working. That's a decision in the moment. And that's what builds my credibility with them ultimately.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We know, the people that you're leading don't expect you to be infallible.
Right.
Right. They know you will make mistakes. The question is, how do you react once you make that mistake?
That's right. That's right.
And I think that's the key, that gives them insight into your character.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've done the same thing. I'll ask what I think is a brilliantly crafted question. And they all sit there, and at some point they give you the tilted dog head, and then, yeah, you always, instead of assuming that the audience is not bright, I always figure, okay, this must be me.
It has to be me. Yeah.
Yeah. Just saying, that question didn't make any sense, did it? And they're like, no, we don't know what you're asking in that question. Like, okay, let's talk it out and figure out, okay, what is the discussion we're trying to get to? And you're exactly right. They appreciate that, right? Just that admission that,
Right.
okay, that didn't work. Let's
And
figure out what does.
so the leadership and self-deception book goes right along with that, because it has a section where it talks about, the symptoms of, they call it being in the box, that you sort of build this little protective shell for yourself to not have to deal with the reality of the fact that you just made a bad choice, a bad decision, you went against your values, whatever it is. And they say you exaggerate other people's faults. They're stupid. They don't get, gosh, they're just so behind. They don't understand the greatness that I'm throwing out. Or you exaggerate your own virtue. I'm probably above them, really, I probably am just over their heads. No, as a facilitator, as a coach, you didn't connect with them. Something's off there. It's your job. You're aware of it. So you're the one that has the responsibility to go try to do something about it, even if it makes you feel silly or stupid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I heard the same thing from a veteran comedian, right? Very successful comedian. And he said, the young comedian came off stage and it hadn't gone well. And the young comedian says, yeah, that audience, they're just not sophisticated enough for my material. And the veteran guy's like, no, you stank. Your stuff is crap. It's like, wow, man, that's just not the way I was seeing it. But yeah, I think that's how he became a veteran successful comedian, by just saying, hey, if it doesn't work,
it doesn't work.
It's on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's on me. It's not them. I need to modify, how I deliver it, when I deliver it. Whatever. There's changes to be made here in order to get engagement and for it to resonate.
Right. Could I share some things from the book that sort of speak to, how you can go about addressing being half in, half out on leadership? Half in, half out on deception. Let me try that a third time. This is perfect, Mike, that I have screwed up a sentence twice on a podcast where we're talking about being real. Mike, could I have another go at that sentence? Could I try that again?
Please do. And know that as you work on this third attempt, I am very supportive.
That's so great. That's just perfect. What I was going to say is the book, Leadership and Self-Deception, has some ideas about how you go about addressing the self-deception issue. How you sort of stay out of the box and keep yourself from getting defensive about, whatever it is you're defensive on. So it's a 4 short things here. First off, you're going to step into the box. You're going to do that self-deception moment again. And so instead of just like trying to get it perfect, just apologize and move on and improve for the next time. So just focus on the improvement, not perfection. Just apologize and move on. Another thing is to not preach it, but practice it. Don't worry about the fact that you discovered this great book about leadership and self-deception and go tell everybody about it. Just start doing it. Just start actually living it out and not being a bastard, right? Be a full pedigree. Practice being a full pedigree in the moment instead of telling everybody about how you're going to do that. Don't focus on other people's boxes, kind of a related thought. It's not about their self-deception. You work on you. And the final one is, this is just kind of like a thing for life. It's kind of a crazy thought. Focus on what you can do for others.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Right. Like, let's focus on other people and serving them instead of, what they're doing wrong or what they're not doing and could be doing. And the things you need them to do for your organization. I just need them to do their job. Well, yes, but how can you serve? What can you do for them? If you put the focus there, this whole process becomes much easier.
Oh, definitely. No, a great example. I had a sales leader. He had a sales meeting, and he always wants to leave it positive. And the meeting wrapped up with him just telling everybody how bad they were doing and what they were doing wrong. And then he kind of sent them out, right? And he's sitting there and he looks at me, and before I could say anything, he goes, "I know." And so he picks up the phone and he pages sales meeting in the conference room now.
Oh, that's cool.
And all the salespeople are coming back, thinking they're coming back for round 2.
Beating number 2.
Yeah. Beating number 2 is being served in the conference room. So, and he just stood there and he said, listen, that didn't go anything like I had planned it. It didn't go anything like I thought it should. And then to your point, it in no way, shape, or form allowed you to leave here better prepared to be successful today.
Mm.
And so I own that. And for that, I apologize. So let's talk about what we could do here and how it could be better. And sent the team off with a whole different attitude.
Wow.
And you could say it was self-serving, right? He knew that the team he had sent out was about to have a really bad day. Production was going to be low. But he also was disappointed in his personal performance as a leader. Yeah. And this was not how he wanted to lead, and it wasn't the most effective way to lead. So right there on the spot. Wow. Just fixed it.
Did that change the dynamic with his team? I don't know if he had ever done this before with them, where they had seen him be vulnerable like that, but did this change things?
It has been an evolution. So there was definitely a point where they'd seen that he would have never done that. Yeah. He may have even, gloated that, look at the blood trail. Right. After my meeting. I bet
spun him out.
I bet some of them actually go to their cars and leave. So yeah, and to the evolution of you started to see this development of the leader, and then the interesting thing is then you saw people leaning in even more. Right, they became more engaged with him as he developed, and they would say, the old version of this leader would never have done that. Right. This is cool to see the evolution, which I think, there again, you're role modeling that we can all change. Yeah. But in this crazy, hectic, world of change that I have to evolve, and probably so do you, no matter what level of the organization you're working in.
So my mom has always talked about an elementary school teacher she had growing up, Mrs. Hammock, and Mrs. Hammock would say, "Little eyes are upon you." It's really related to what you said earlier about, they're always watching. Like they were watching that very public moment, and they'll be watching the very, non-public moments that they see. You had an example you had shared with me recently about one of your clients checking in on you.
Oh yeah. I've got this client. I've worked with them for 10 years. Yeah. And it's interesting because they're, an hour and a half away. So we never see each other socially. We're never at the same grocery store, never at the same church. Right. We just, so they only see me in the work setting. Right. And so I had a family member drove up there to purchase a vehicle. The owner of the business invited the family member into his office, just, thanking them for their business. Then he closes the door and he leans in and he goes, "Okay, what's Mike really like? You can tell me." Just wanting to know, right? Is this person who shows up there, for 10 years in their private life, their family life, or whatever, are they the same person, right? Looking for that alignment, that authenticity. Right. And I have to give my family member credit, right? They said, "Oh no, Mike is Mike." Yeah. That's what you get. It's like that all the time, everywhere, and so, yeah, he felt pretty good about that. Funny thing is, he's never mentioned that conversation. Yeah. So, but I find that just funny, right? So even somebody who's known forever, right? They still want to know. Right, like you said, the eyes are upon you. Right, is there alignment? Is there authenticity? Do their deeds match their words?
Yeah, this is going to be my ridiculous version of what you just said. I just I don't know, 10 or so years ago, I said, you know what? If I'm going to be on social media, I just want to be me. Some of my Sunday school teenage kids are friends with me. Some of my clients are friends with me. Family members, friends with me. I don't want to be different to any of these audiences. So I'm just going to play it straight the way I pretty much am. And I'm probably about 5 degrees to the left of goofy in real life more than I am on social media, which is going to come as maybe a shock to some people, but I just sort of let it roll, right? Well, a couple weeks ago, a friend from college dug up some pictures of me doing I don't know how to describe this, Mike, but it was a synchronized dance with another man. It involved me riding him like a bull and several other, and they're just all these snapshots of these various, it was a joke that got out of hand. And then people started asking for it when we'd go to parties, and there are a lot of pictures. There are also a couple videos, which by the grace of God have not shown up on YouTube, but I have all these pictures now that I'm tagged in. And so, there's a part of me that's like, oh boy, what do I do here? And then I was like, let it ride. That was me. That really happened. Guess what? Every one of my clients has wanted to talk about for the last, couple weeks. Hey, I saw the pictures of you. That was a riot. It's it's like now they know more about the real Mark, right? Mm-hmm. And they're happy to know more about the real Mark, right? I mean, I guess it would be different if I had pictures of me with Nazi paraphernalia, but it's just, it's me. It's just me.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Turns out people like authenticity.
Yeah. And we've all done silly stuff in our youth.
Right.
And don't think that your pun, I let it ride, snuck past me. Oh, yeah. No, it didn't. And if there was ever a moment where we've never in the history of these podcasts, over a year of them, we've never edited one.
Right.
But I think if we could insert at a key moment here one of those pictures so that we could get the true example of what you're talking about, fully picture it, I think that would be a great time for some editing. So, since you're in charge of editing, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'll get to work on that. Sure.
See ya. All right. So yeah, be true to yourself, be true to your team. And so any last thoughts as you think about the 8 universal leadership qualities from the Republic?
Yeah, I think courage still just comes back again and again to me. Like, a lot of this is about being intentional and wanting to do this, and having the tenacity, the sort of the force of will to keep going with this thing that you're being intentional about developing about yourself. But courage is the other side of that coin to me. It's not going to go well. And he, I read this, he makes a point of saying you can't be a bastard about courage. You have to be all in on that virtue for this to work out. And what I didn't read is that he goes on to basically say, this is why philosophers have a bad name. In his day and age, they were even getting made fun of. We make fun of them too, for being, pie in the sky, egghead types. But, his concern was, they don't take us seriously because we don't practice what we preach here. Mm-hmm. And so, he's talking about leaders. That's basically really what he meant by philosopher, or the lovers of wisdom who perceive truth and can, bring harmony to a community. It's not going to happen unless you have the courage to go try this, mess up, keep going. Have the courage to show your heart that you're trying something. Courage is to me the other side of the coin of this intentionality, willpower that we're working at. So I think that's it for me. Anything for you?
Well, I think that's what makes this list so great is I think all our listeners, both of them, will gravitate towards a different quality.
Yeah.
So because I looked at the talent for studies, the learning piece.
Yeah.
And so in this day and age where everything is changing at just such a rapid pace, and there's more information, there's more to be learned, even things that we held as sacred, 5 years ago, we are now proven that that's not the best course of action. That's not the best way to lead. It's not the best way to do business. That's not the approach the consumer wants. So to me, it was the learning, right? You have to continually evolve. You have to continually learn. And then to your point, right, you have to have the courage to act upon what you've now discovered.
Yeah.
and so the learning without courage. So they're all important, but I think people will prioritize them in different ways, depending on the leadership situation they're in, and depending upon where they see they need to be stronger.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Well, on that note, I've enjoyed you indulging me in this 9-part series. Took quite a bit of time, but I hope this helped people. I hope it helped people.
Oh yeah, yeah. If just one person reads the Republic, then we have succeeded.
Or if anybody takes action in any way, I think we'll feel good about that. So let us know how you have made use of this. I did hear, Mike, by the way, from a possibly a third listener. We make jokes about this, folks. Anybody who's looked at our counts, it's more than 2 or 3. But somebody else has reached out to me about how this hit them at a particularly good time. And guess what it was about? It was about being very good looking. Oh, I knew that episode was a winner. I just knew it.
Our 50th
anyway, we hope this helps.
Episode, our 1-year anniversary episode on
That's right.
Leaders must be good looking.
Yeah, the most ironic thing for this podcast host.
Probably our most controversial as well. So
I would say so.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to be canceled. Kind of excited about it. All right, let's see if our announcer is as excited about us as usual.
And that's a wrap. The musings of Mark and Mike. No rights reserved, etc. Feel free to share and discuss what you heard today. Even claim the ideas as your own. Who'd want to do that? See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius. Thanks.
That's good enough.